There's some competing theories about this, that, well, good guy John Boehner steps down because he just doesn't want there to be any more turmoil, a word that he used repeatedly when he was giving his little resignation address. But then, of course, you hear from other insiders who say, no, it's because he was essentially getting fired. So where are we on that spectrum?
Right. Well, I think the reality is he was probably going to get fired. And I'll give you a quick story for background. So back in the late 90s, I worked for then Representative Coburn, and we used the same motion to vacate the chair to force Newt Gingrich to resign. And all it took then was, I think, 6 members of the House to tell Newt that he wasn't going to be reelected Speaker, because at that time, Republicans were refusing to fight for conservative principles, and it was our entire strategy was based on running against President Clinton and the impeachment scandal. So it was a different time, but similar dynamic. But the lesson from that period was the person we ended up getting was initially going to be Bob Livingston, who was an appropriator. He would not have been a good replacement. And then we got Denny Hastert. And Denny Hastert was a managerial speaker. He was maybe less bad than Newt at the time, who was doing a lot of damage to the conservative cause for different reasons. Newt since then has frankly rehabilitated his image to a large degree.
Yes.
But I say that to illustrate that sometimes the people we end up with aren't necessarily better fighters.
Right.
And I hope I'm wrong. I hope we end up with a great speaker, somebody who's bold and principled and will really motivate the troops and lead us to victories.
How likely is it that it's going to be Kevin McCarthy? I mean, I know that's basically, I mean, he's, Majority Leader, Boehner's understudy, for the lack of a better way to put it, in terms of speakership. Everyone's saying that it's basically, I mean, it's his unless he decides he doesn't want it.
I think that's probably the case. I think he is in the driver's seat to get it. And from what I've seen of his statements so far, they've been encouraging. Yesterday he talked about, or today, we need to pick conservative fights we can win. And I would agree with that to a large degree, but I think sometimes it's okay to lose, and you can win by losing. And often that's how we advance conservative ideas, is that we pick a fight, whether it's Planned Parenthood or any fight, we take a stand, we articulate where we are, and you fight to the point where you force the other side to sacrifice. You don't sacrifice all your troops, you force the other side to pay a price.
Right.
And I call that the Patton rule. General Patton, he used a much saltier language than I can use on TV, but he basically said, in war, the purpose of fighting is to force the other guy to die for their country, not to die for your country. And that to me represents smart tactics, smart fighting. In World War II, we didn't invade Japan. We did an island hopping strategy where we took one battle at a time, one target at a time. And that's really the challenge for the next speaker, is to find these unifying, often incremental fights. And the challenge for conservatives, frankly, is we have to be willing to look back at history and accept that in our system of government, oftentimes the best we can hope for is an incremental gain. And no one wants to hear that.